Wilmington Design Standards for Historic Districts and Landmarks, and the Secretary of Interior Standards for Rehabilitation. Evidence submitted to the Commission for review will become part of the record. Appeal of a Commission decision must be submitted to the Wilmington Board of Adjustment within 30 days of the date of the Commission's action. Further appeal must be submitted to Superior Court. Evidence pertaining to an agenda item must be presented during the evidentiary portion of that item. Individuals who wish to address the Commission will be sworn in as witnesses to present material and substantial evidence. The Chair will recognize each witness who wishes to address the Commission during the evidentiary portion. In order to ensure that witness evidence is properly recorded, each individual should come to the podium and clearly state their name and address before addressing the Commission. As a brief reminder, members of the Commission are appointed by and serve at the pleasure of City Council. Our charge is with respect to the protection and preservation of properties located within the city's designated historic districts. The Commission is held to the requirements of the Wilmington Design Standards for Historic Districts and Landmarks, as well as the applicable North Carolina state law. We are to determine whether exterior changes to a building are congruous with the special character of the city's historic districts. It is important that the Commission deliberate the merits of each request in a manner that provides a record for the basis of our decisions. Please remember our deliberation should be centered on how a project meets the Wilmington Design Standards and whether the changes are congruous. Commissioners, if you have received or been made aware of any information outside this evidentiary hearing related to any agenda item before the Commission, please recuse yourself from that agenda item. Before the meeting begins, please ensure that all cell phones are in silent mode or turned off. We will begin the meeting with the introduction of city staff who assist us with these meetings. Brian Chambers, Assistant Planning Director, and Gina Essie, who is our Assistant City Attorney. Wait a second. Ben Riggles, who's our Planning Manager, and Amy Bradshaw. All right, let's see. Amy Bradshaw, who is our Planning Coordinator. We will begin with the administrative portion of the meeting. I am Kathleen Egan, the Commission Chair, and my fellow commissioners will introduce themselves. Ross Tomaselli is absent and excused from this meeting, and the other commissioners attending the meeting tonight are
Joan Keston,
Stephen Sulky,
Ashley Wilson,
Chris Yermal,
Allison Watts.
We will now swear in those present who wish to present evidence related to an agenda item.
If I could have all staff, applicants, and members of the public, if you will be speaking this evening, you need to please stand up and raise your right hand. You must be sworn in order to speak. You have to stand. Sorry. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
Thank you. We've received a draft of the minutes from the January 9th meeting. If there are any suggested edits or corrections to the draft minutes from our last meeting, please bring them to our attention now. No, we're good? Okay, could I have a motion then to approve the minutes?
I motion to approve.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Are approved. We will now begin the evidentiary portion of the meeting, and we will move to new business. And the first order of new business is 502 Red Cross Street.
Hello, Commissioners. The applicant proposes to install a black metal fence around the boundary of St. Stephen AME Church parking lot at the southeast corner of the intersection of Red Cross Street and North 5th Avenue. The subject property is a non-contributing resource to the Historic District Mixed Use, HD-MU, and is located across Red Cross Street from St. Stephen's AME Church. Because the proposed fence project is located on a corner lot, a major work COA is required. The proposed fence will extend along the south and east sides of the parcel and will be black aluminum fencing approximately 123 feet in length, 5 feet in height. No fencing will be installed along Red Cross Street or North Fifth Avenue. The location of the proposed fence is vacant and no trees or landscaping will have to be removed. The proposed fence is similar to other fences in the neighborhood, including these examples to the north of the St. Stephen's AME Church. Any questions?
Questions for staff?
There's a chain link fence in the picture. Is that going to be removed? Just out of curiosity. Right there. Oop, there.
I do not believe that's on their property.
Oh, that's different. Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
So as far as I know, I don't know anything about that fence. I
Okay,
apologize.
thank you.
Okay. Thank you. We will now invite the applicant to provide additional information or answer questions. They're not here? Okay. Then we will open the evidentiary portion to members of the public. Then we will close the evidentiary portion and move to commissioner deliberation. Any issues with it?
Choose.
Okay. Somebody want to make a motion then to?
Hang on, I'll find it wherever it is here. Okay, I move to approve with conditions a request for fencing on the corner lot for the property located at 502 Red Cross Street. This request is consistent with the Wilmington Design Standards for Historic Districts and Landmarks based on the evidence provided, including the application and all attachments, testimony presented during the evidentiary hearing, and the staff reports, conditions 1 through 4.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. We will now move to other business, the proposal for a possible landmark study list approval for New Hanover High School.
Hello again. The applicant proposes to include the New Hanover High School located at 1307 Market Street on the study list in anticipation of pursuing a local landmark designation for the school. The subject property is located on the north side of Market Street between North 12th and North 14th Street. The school is a contributing resource to the Carolina Heights Historic District that was listed in the National Register of Historic Places in 1999. However, the school is located adjacent to but outside of the Carolina Heights Winnecoka Terrace Historic District overlay. Construction of the school started in 1919, and the original portion of the school was completed in 1922. Well-known architects William J. Wilkins and Leslie N. Boney Sr. designed the school, which in 1933 was expanded by the addition of wings to the east and west sides of the original portion of the school. The Princess Street Gym was added to the rear of the original portion of the school in 1940. As described in the Carolina Heights Historic District nomination, the building is 2 stories in height over a full basement with projecting central entrance echoed by blind projecting wings. The building features Art Deco and Beaux-Arts architectural elements with tan brick and stonework. The building features 2-story bands of 9/9 windows set in monumental glazed tile panels. The central doorway is approached by flanking stairs leading to a platform with cast iron lamps and central stairs leading to the main entrance. Ornate architectural details are located over the central entryway. The New Hanover High School is an important educational institution within the city of Wilmington and New Hanover County. The school has been one of the largest and occasionally the largest high school in the state. The school has educated a large portion of Wilmington's young people for over the past century. The school also provides important community functions beyond education, including supporting a variety of highly successful athletic teams and cultural events such as plays and concerts. Because the school is currently undergoing a substantial renovation project, the integrity of the primary facade on the south elevation is difficult to assess. The front of the school is cloaked by scaffolding that extends the entire length of the facade. Despite the scaffolding, the school appears to retain a good level of integrity because it retains its projecting central entry and stair configuration, its two-story bands of 9/9 windows set in monumental glazed tile panels, and the ornamental architectural elements over the central entrance. Historic photographs show that the building remains relatively unchanged over the years. Although the front facade is shrouded by the scaffolding, the side east elevation was uncovered and includes the two-story bands of 9/9 windows similar to the front elevation, only fewer in number. Because the school can be seen on all sides, even the rear of the building features architectural style to match the rest of the building. The rear entries for the wings added to the school in 1933 include similar architectural elements as the two-story bands of windows, which allows the building to feature a uniform architectural feel despite having the wings added later. The Princess Street Gym, added to the school in 1940, continued the architectural style of the rest of the school by being constructed tan brick with light tan masonry frieze matching the other portions of the school. Although the window panels are less ornamental, the main doors to the gym on either corner of the gym's north elevation feature classical pediments with ornamental motifs identifying it as the gymnasium. In 1954, Brogdon Hall was constructed to the west of the school, opposite North 13th Street, which resulted in the closing of the street for this block. Although Brogdon Hall features a more mid-century modern architectural style, it was designed by well-known local architect Charles H. Boney, son of Leslie N. Boney, Sr. Brogdon Hall also features tan brick with light masonry architectural elements that match the color scheme of the main portion of the building. Because Brogdon Hall occupies a substantial portion of the property, is physically attached to the school by the Sky Bridge, and was designed by well-known local architect, including Brogdon Hall and New Hanover High School, with the New Hanover High School, if it's added to the study list, may be appropriate. Any questions?
Could you repeat that last part about the connection with Brogdon Hall?
Because Brogdon Hall occupies a substantial portion of the property, is physically attached to the school by the Sky Bridge, and was designed by a well-known local artist, including Brogdon Hall as part of New Hanover High School, if it is added to the study list, may be appropriate.
Okay. So does that mean that Brogdon Hall is not a part of this
The
study list?
application does not include Brogdon Hall.
Okay.
Can we include it? I mean,
That's why I'm bringing it to your attention,
okay,
so you can decide if it's worthy or not.
okay.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, thank you. We will now invite the applicant to provide additional information or answer questions about this project.
Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Gene Merritt. I live in Wilmington, been here a long, long time. Graduated from New Hanover High School in 1962. I love New Hanover High School for lots of reasons. I had a good education there. I had good teachers. We were a great high school. We were at one time the largest high school in North Carolina. My graduating class in 1962 at 550 people was the largest graduating class in the state of North Carolina. So we are a famous, well-known high school. But that's not really the reason I'm here. The reason here is that I am a historic preservationist, and I believe I have a legitimate track record to back that up. I've been involved in preserving and adaptively using quite a few buildings in downtown Wilmington over the last 45 or 50 years. New Hanover High School is a beautiful building. I'm asking you to designate it as an historic landmark. If you think about the definition of words, what does historic mean? I know that we have for years, we talk about contributing buildings being 75 years old and being architecturally significant. Well, this building is well over 75 years old, and to say that it is architecturally significant would be a vast understatement. The building was designed by Mr. Wilkins with the help of a local Charles Boney of the Boney family, who is now with LSP Boney Architects. The building is a landmark. What is a landmark? It's an interesting question. Is Greenfield Lake a landmark? In other words, what is a landmark? I see it as a landmark, and I think that a vast majority of the people in this town believe that it is an historic landmark, and therefore we respectfully request that you designate it as such. That does not necessarily bring with it any magic answers to any questions, but it certainly, I think, my motivation in this whole thing is to protect the New Hanover High School from demolition. I've heard a number of talk here and there about the possibility of demolition, which scares me a great deal. And that's really one of the main reasons I'm here, is I don't want that building torn down. And it does not deserve to be torn down. It certainly has a use. And I would like to see it used as a school. And so I could talk forever about it, but I love this school. And I can tell you there are a huge amount of people in this town that went to school here that love it and do not want to see it torn down, and they want to see it get the designation that it deserves as a historic landmark. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you. Any questions?
How do we get Brogdon Hall, which is so historic, included in this?
I don't look at, quite frankly, with all due respect, I don't look at Brogdon Hall as a part of this, my argument particularly. Brogdon Hall is a part of the complex, but it is not a historic structure, and it is not architecturally significant, in my opinion. It is really not part, in my opinion, of this application.
Are you concerned that the addition of that building to the landmark application would hamper the progress of, the landmark request, that is a process, this is just the beginning of it.
That is a very difficult question. I don't see it as a positive. I don't see Brogdon Hall. To me, Brogdon Hall is not architecturally or historically significant, okay? So if I was coming before you and asking you to make it a certified historic structure, I think I would have a hard case again for it based on a number of issues. So my concern is the main building. That is what I'm here for.
Okay. Any other questions? No? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We will now, go ahead.
Do the right thing.
We will now open the evidentiary portion to members of the public. If you want to comment, just come forward, give us your name and address.
Good evening. My name is Chris Barnes, and I'm the interim superintendent for New Hanover County Schools. The current address is 6410 Carolina Beach Road. First, not coming to speak in denial of wanting to make this a preservation. I know that the importance of this historic nature of this building to families and the community as well. I do want to bring you a couple of implications about the complexity of the current situation. We're working with New Hanover so you can use it as a part of your decision-making process. Obviously, right now, we're in the second phase of a two-phase project to repair issues that the building was having structurally. And we have also commissioned with our county commissioners a large-scale facility study to help determine the feasibility of the building moving forward. Certainly not a question of whether we want it to be demolished or moved, but I have to be thinking about not just the last 100 years of a building, but the next 100 that it's going to be. And I'm speaking solely on the idea of the safety and educational well-being of the students that go to New Hanover now. So I want you to be thinking about the fact that we are in the middle of an extensive facade repair in front of the building, and we don't want to make any significant changes at this point in time in case we have to make more structural changes or additions or fixes to the building. We're hoping that by the end of this school year, we will have a full-range facility study on the building itself to talk about its structural integrity and be able to make decisions based on what's best for student safety in the future. Also want to say that of all of our high schools, New Hanover's on about 15 acres. Our other high schools are upwards of 60 or 70. And so the complexities of this school alone, just are, because the city has grown around it, make it a little more complex for students to go to. So, thank you. I just want to make sure that I spoke for the school system itself.
Is there any possibility that there is any threat to the students? I mean, structurally is sound?
It's structurally sound, and we're making improvements to make sure it's perfect. That's not the concern. The concern is making sure it will last for another 10, 20, 30, 40 years. What the commissioners asked us to do was to discuss whether or not it is better in the long run to put money into fixing the building or whether it needs to be a different building entirely. So this facility study is supposed to help us understand the sort of long-range feasibility of the school continuing to be there for another 100 years.
Will that study be completed?
It was started in November. It should be done in April.
So what's the timing of that with, I mean, we're just the first phase of this, so this is just putting it on a study list. What's the timing of that with the final decision about this?
Well, a decision that big about a new high school or the cost of bringing this high school up to where we want it to be, it was significant enough that it would take long-range planning to do. We're talking millions upon millions of dollars, so it's not something that we're jumping into immediately.
Well,
But we want to be able to inform our county commissioners as to what would be the best use of their money.
Because I would think that would impact, I mean, if it would impact the decision about this.
I believe so.
would you be able to replace this with a high school because you don't have enough acreage?
And welcome to the million-dollar question. Really, what I want to do is continue to have kids have a legacy in this building. I just want to make sure that we have done our due diligence to make sure it is the best environment for children that we can create. And I'm just not ready to say that yet because this study is in process right now.
Yeah, okay. And it is very significant to the people in Wilmington.
Correct.
My grandfather, my father, my mother.
Correct.
My mother taught there. My children went there. It's very significant part of our, and closing it would mean just completely tearing it down, and I don't think you could build another.
You're bringing some of the same concerns that we had, which is the reason we commissioned the study in the first place. If you were to ask me, it's obviously a decision of the school boards, but we want to support things like this. Like, this is a great historic building. I just want to make sure we've done our due diligence in making the right financial decision as well.
But approving this to undergo a study for landmark possibility won't hamper your plans, will it? You'll
Ma'am,
keep
I'd
going.
have to ask you that. I'm fairly new
Yeah.
to this. I'm just
Okay.
trying to make sure that I'm speaking for the sort of the long-range planning that we're looking at right now, because I thought it might be, germane to your discussion.
Okay.
Yeah, if I could chime in, I think, so we're talking about a study list. You have a concurrent study going on. So we're talking about essentially two studies running in parallel. We're not making any decisions tonight. And I
didn't, yeah.
personally, I don't have any objection to a study being conducted as far as this landmark designation. And if it ever comes to us for an actual landmark designation, then by then, I assume we would have more information about the actual study that you have on the facility
Correct.
and can make a decision at that point. So, but, I mean, personally, I appreciate your bringing this to our awareness and letting us know some of the, I wouldn't call it a concern, I don't think, but just, you know, kind of apprising us what the challenges are here.
Well, and it's how do we make sure it remains to be a building, everything it needs for everybody, and creating a situation where we can bring the best educational environment for our students and complete the historic needs of the community as well. Obviously, my goal is to find a way to do both those things together.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Any other questions? Or no? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other members of the public who wish to address the commission?
I wasn't planning to speak, but I would hope to address some of your questions and concerns. My name's Eddie Anderson. I'm an
Sir,
assistant superintendent.
if you could put the mic up just a little bit, I'm sorry, you're taller than some other.
Too tall. Is that better?
Yes, thanks.
Okay. Eddie Anderson, I'm the Assistant Superintendent for Operations for New Hanover County Schools. I've been in Wilmington and working with this district since 1997. And I can assure you that I personally, nor does anyone else, want to see New Hanover High School torn down. Our concern is, one of your questions was, is it safe? It is safe now. But when we started this process, there were some serious structural concerns with that front south-facing wall, and especially on the east and west corners. And so we vacated classrooms immediately. And throughout the process, the structural engineer and contractors have been very careful in performing their work not to cause any further structural issues with the building. The footings of that building, probably due to poor soil conditions when it was constructed, settled, causing some pretty major structural cracks throughout that front or south-facing wall. We've been able to go in and install micropiles, not to lift, but to stabilize the footing so it doesn't continue to settle. And now we're in the process of repairing the walls. East and west corners have been taken down completely and are being reconstructed. We do believe that we can make repairs to the south-facing wall without complete demolition of that wall. And that work is actively underway. If you've been by there and see all the scaffolding, and it's scheduled to be completed this summer so that the building will reopen. Currently we have 16 classrooms, our administration area and guidance area closed and relocated. All of that space will be back open for the start of the next school year and will be safe to occupy 100% of the building.
Great.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Pat Bradford, and I'm a member of the New Hanover County School Board. And I would like to invite all of you to come down, and we'll make an appointment and to tour the school on the inside. It's easy to look at the outside of the building and think everything is one way, but when you see it from the inside and what's been done, and if you can just begin to look at the pictures of where we came from, it was really bad. It was shockingly bad. And Mr. Anderson vacated the classrooms immediately that were on those walls. So we want you to come and look so that you'll have a good idea. I mean, you could literally see outside through the walls. Wow. It was bad. And we've done a lot of work, and we're very excited. We're looking forward to this study. But again, an invitation to come and see from the inside would be wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh.
Any other members of the public? Then we will close the evidentiary portion and move to commissioner deliberation.
Well, it seems that there's such an importance to it that there's no reason not to put on a study list. We're not making a final decision, and I don't think we can accurately do that without that other study being done.
Right.
So to me, it doesn't seem to be a point of not going forward.
And it's a, this is not a 3-week process.
Right.
So, and I know even if it finally gets landmark status, that means you can't demolish it without further consideration, like jumping through a lot of hoops. So, yeah,
But I would think that, and this is a question, can we put forward that it's on the study list, but that one of our requirements is that before a final decision is made, this study's completed, so that there's an interface of the two?
That's been a question of mine all along, like how.
Can we do that?
Brian, how long does this landmark study, what is that kind of
But can we make
timeframe?
can we make a
Putting it on the
requirement that before the final landmark decision is made, that this study is done and
Yeah, I
it's
don't think it would be done before the facility study's done.
You're correct. And the putting it on the study list is just the first step.
Very first.
If this were to come back at a later date for actual landmark designation, it would have to come from the owner, which would be the school board. They would have to make that application, so they would have to be
okay.
comfortable with
Then
that
they would
decision
have
at that time.
Okay. Oh,
Okay.
that's helpful.
Okay.
Okay.
What do you all think about Brogdon Hall? I mean, it is 71 years old, kind of been an integral part of the site for almost 3/4 of a century.
And similarly, getting millions and millions and millions of dollars of repairs over the last several years, air conditioning, the floor, but I do feel that if it's easy enough to study the actual facility, the main building itself, have Brogdon as a part of it too.
So added into the study.
I would say so, yeah.
If we were to add that into the study, in the final deliberation, who makes the decision then about whether it's a good idea to keep that under the protection of the landmark or not? Would that be the National Park Service that does that, or who comes up with that final designation of what fits the landmark designation and what doesn't?
It would come down to what is actually being requested. Tonight, the applicant has requested just the main school building and has, I guess, indicated to exclude Brogdon. If that were included, again, you would have Brogdon Hall on the study list. And again, the school board would have to make a request to put that on the landmark. I would have to defer to Mr. Riggle on what role the National Park Service plays
Well,
in it.
the thing that I'm concerned too, is if you take Brogdon Hall, if you don't have Brogdon Hall on, would that be a condition of not keeping it high school? To tear it down and not have the room or the facilities to put in a replacement, just like it would be for the school. You tear down New Hanover High School, there will never be a school there again.
Even if the building is there, it won't function as a high school?
There's not enough acreage, yeah.
Right.
Are you asking if Brogdon and the main building can be disentangled from one another as far as the decision for the?
If they were, then they would have to, then Brogdon comes down, then the school couldn't function.
And what we're aiming to do is to
Keep
set
it.
up that the school is still possible in that building.
Exactly.
I mean, whether the school board decides to put one there or not is a whole different story, but at least with all the buildings,
It can
could
be kept
still-
as a school, a high school. No?
I'm sorry, I didn't realize you were asking me a question. Yes, ma'am.
We want to know if we're concerned about keeping Brogdon Hall out of the landmark status, because would it deter it from, if it had to be torn down, would it deter New Hanover from being a high school?
Well, it would not be torn down without some proposed addition in its place. I think you're right.
Okay.
You know, Brogdon Hall, we have, I don't know how many, you know, two-story classroom building as well as Brogdon Hall. That would have to be replaced somewhere, you know, on that site. As part of the comprehensive facility assessment, we're also going through a master planning process. And I'll tell you, you know, the main building, unless there's a structural safety issue, everybody agrees we're not tearing that down. But I think it's more likely that we will recommend some demolition of some of the buildings in that 4-block area that's, that the high school currently sits on, and that it will be replaced, you know, with newer, more modern facilities, adding some of the resource spaces that they currently do not have.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yes. So I personally agree with Mr. Merritt in that if it was limited to the high school and not Brogdon Hall, that would be our
Gotcha.
preference in the
Yep.
study.
Okay.
That
That's-
makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, please come forward if you would.
I'd like to make a slight clarification of what I said about Brogdon Hall. I do not think a building has to be architecturally or historically significant to be a landmark. Let's just throw that in the mix of things. One could argue that Brogdon Hall is a landmark. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not here to argue one way or the other. One more comment I would like to make in this whole process is money. I want you to be very, very careful. Architects, engineers, and general contractors like to make money, and I don't blame them. I'm a developer myself. On the other hand, I have seen situations where people purposely overestimate the cost of things to discourage them from happening. In other words, if it just costs too much money to do New Hanover High School, why don't we just tear it down? And, you know, and then what? Then what are we going to do if we tear it down? Where are the students going? In other words, so I think we need to be extremely, we're dealing with an important issue here, and we need to be careful in our considerations. But I just wanted to delineate, what I was about Brogdon Hall, that you know, one could argue that it is a landmark. I was just I'm a preservationist, you know, that's what I'm into. And, you know, I don't look at Brogdon Hall as architecturally or historically significant. But it actually is historically significant, I think, legitimately. So anyway, I don't mean to bug you with any of this, but anyway, I just wanted to make these comments and hope that they might help you in your deliberations of what you decide to do.
Thank you. All right, then we will close the evidentiary portion and move on to commissioner deliberation.
Ben, could you help me understand a little bit about, I'm still trying to think about Brogdon and versus the building, the main building, primary building itself. If both are a part of the study and the study is done and it determines that one is worthy of landmark designation and the other one isn't, that choice can be made in the future. Just because you're doing the study doesn't mean that it's going to come before us as a single unit, that both of them would have to be provided that landmark designation, correct?
That is correct. They can be separated later.
Yeah.
The city council, I haven't done the process yet, so bear in mind, this is what I understand from reading the guidelines and the rules. The city council will have to approve the landmark application, and then it goes up to the state, and the state preservation officer will have to approve as well.
Yeah.
I do not believe the Park Service will be getting involved. I think it will be ultimately up to the state preservation officer if he or she decides that it's not appropriate. They could bounce it out. I don't think they could theoretically put it back in if we decide just to proceed with the main portion of the building. I don't think they can like overrule that. I think they can only cut things out. They can't put things back in.
And the time frame wise, like I know we've voted in favor of several landmarks within this historic district in Wilmington, in many of the historic districts. I don't recall ever ruling on a study. What is that time frame? Like, how long would it be?
Theoretically, it's however long it takes for the landmark application to be completed. Theoretically, Mr. Merrick will be handling that next step as well because it's his application. I will obviously assist him with that. So it really depends on how fast he proceeds with completing that application, how long it takes to find the additional information we'll need and that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And still, ultimately at that point, it's not this, the landmark designation would first need to be promoted by the school board.
Correct. They will have,
Then it
that's one of
comes
my
to,
conditions
then it comes
that
to
I
the Historic
recommended.
Preservation Commission, and that's where the ruling is made. And there's no guarantee that the school board's going to want to do
Either
anything
side,
with this.
either side or both. I mean, they
Right.
could theoretically not provide the permission, and
Sure.
as property owners, that's their prerogative.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Thank you.
In that case, I think we just put the whole thing in and
yeah.
let someone else figure out whether it makes sense.
Yeah, I feel that way too. I mean, again, it's been there for 71 years. They didn't build it last week. And I know it's a more modern design, but, and the thing too is the son of the original architect designed it. I mean, it has a lot of things going for it. And just to kind of say, whoop, no, we're not going to care about it at this point. Yeah, I think the whole thing should be on the study and then let somebody else really look at it. And if they decide no, then it's no later.
Yeah.
I don't want to just cut it off at the knees right now.
Yeah, and there are classrooms. I think Lyceum, well, when my children were there, Lyceum was there in those classrooms annexed at Brogdon, but it is worth looking at.
Want to read the motion then?
And I really wanted to, on the record, echo Mr. Merritt's comment. I think what he was leading toward was, I'm not a structural engineer, but I deal with them every day, just about. And I think most structural engineers can argue both sides of a building's condition to either demolish it or to repair it. Sometimes the exact same structural engineer, it depends on who's paying them and what the intent is. Like, I want to pay you as a structural engineer to give me the direction on how to save this thing and in a budget-friendly manner, or if there's some emphasis on, I want you to evaluate this because we all know that it's demolishable or should be demolished. And I think that needs to be, a part of any decision-making going forward, that with the intent that one gives, whoever's writing the check to that structural engineer, to say, we want to save this, and they say, okay, we're going to work on this and do micro piles and all the different things you can do to save a building. It's honestly not, it's not rocket science for sure, but anyways, I just wanted to, I appreciate that he made that point about intent. That's all I want to say about that.
My father graduated from this school, and he's a structural engineer, was, before he died, and he would approve it.
There you go.
There you go.
I always wanted to read it.
I move to approve the request to add New Hanover High School located at 1307 Market Street to Wilmington study list.
And Brogdon Hall.
And Brogdon Hall.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes. That ends the agenda items, and we will now have some items from the staff.
There's two items from staff this evening. The first will be the election of officers. That has to happen annually, so we would just ask the commission to, if you haven't already, discuss amongst yourselves, and then we'll need to nominate and vote on a chair and vice chair.
I'm happy the way we are.
Yeah, it feels good.
It's good. It's working.
Working.
All right, so we'll stick with this.
How do you feel about that?
Let's stick with this.
Acclamation?
Because we haven't talked about that, so good. Great. Likewise.
Thank
For
you.
all your work.
Thank you.
You.
Thank you so much. Brogdon? Thank you.
Likewise. You do a good
Luck with
job
that.
keeping an eye out on things.
All right, so we'll just keep things the way they are for the time being.
We're good.
We're good right now.
So I vote we keep things the way they are. I make a motion that we keep chair and vice chair as they are currently.
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye. That's done.
I'll defer to the attorney if that's adequate, but
Is that adequate? Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, then the second.
Announce the actual. So Excel, let me.
Gina, I'm sorry, I don't think your mic was on.
I think just to preserve the record, we should announce each position, just the chair and the vice chair with the
Yeah.
name, yes.
Okay, so I'll modify that motion. The new motion is that nominate myself for vice chair and
Kathleen Egan for chair.
Kathleen Egan for chair.
We'll just keep it that way for the time being.
And your name is?
We need a second. Chris?
Chris Yermal.
Yermal.
And
Kathleen Egan.
A second.
A second.
That's good, this is a short agenda
All in
meeting.
favor? All in favor?
All in favor, please.
Aye.
Yes.
Okay. Then we're doing the annual report.
yeah, the only other item is the annual report. It was left with your, in front of your seats this evening. There's no presentation, it's just for your information.
Oh,
If you
okay.
got questions of staff, we're happy to answer them, but it's just for your information.
And I think the applications for after-the-fact approval, the percentage keeps going down. So
Yeah.
I think
That's good.
the continuing education that's been done by Stephen and awareness by real estate agents and staff is working. And that's refreshing.
Do we have any other items from any of the commissioners? No?
I do not.
Okay, then
All
I
right.
make a motion to adjourn.
To adjourn.
Second.
Aye.
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 We're all in favor.
Aye.
Good luck writing that one down.
Okay.